Hey there, I'm Cindy Renna, and you're listening to Homeschooling Outside the Box, where I help you build a homeschool that fits your unique family. Hello, and thank you so much for listening today. We are going to continue our series of homeschooling by subject by talking about artists or picture study, as it's commonly known in the Charlotte Mason circles. So when you think of art or paintings or picture study, a word that comes to mind is very likely the word beautiful. A lot of art is considered beautiful. And I'm here to argue today that beauty matters. It matters in your homeschool. It matters in life. It matters for you personally. And we live in a world where the message is kind of that beauty doesn't matter that much. So we are going to start on the premise that beauty does matter. It is not frivolous. It is not an afterthought. In a world that worships all that is utilitarian, I am here to remind you that beauty has a purpose in and of itself. We have only to look at nature to find evidence of this. Flowers did not have to be lovely. A sunset did not have to be stunning. A baby did not have to be so adorable. But God in His wisdom made it so. And even in this broken world, we can see fragments of perfection. And that is beautiful, friends. So what is it about art that captivates us? Why do we try to capture something? A field? A family moment? A smile? For centuries, artists have sketched and painted, sculpted and chiseled, and eventually photographed and recorded on video, all in an attempt to capture beauty, to freeze it in time, to put it in their pocket, to carry it with them, to display it to the masses, to pass it on to us. Why? Because beauty arrests. It stops you in your tracks. It aches to be shared. It often inspires you to create your own something beautiful. Beauty will not sit quietly in the background, but we can train ourselves to ignore it. Small children don't ignore it. Small children know that beauty demands our attention for our own good. Yet as we get older, the novelty of new and beautiful things wears off. We get busy. We get tired. We don't have time to stop and look. Beauty grows faint if we are not careful. But beauty is the third of the transcendentals, the first two being goodness and truth. In Russ Ramsey's fantastic book, Rembrandt is in the Wind, he quotes philosopher Peter Kreeft, who says that these are the only three things that we will never get bored with, and never will for all eternity, because they are three attributes of God, and therefore attributes of all God's creation. Three transcendentals or absolutely universal properties in all reality: truth, goodness, and beauty. Ramsey goes on to state that the pursuit of beauty requires the application of goodness and truth for the benefit of others. Beauty is what we make of goodness and truth. You can see surely that beauty is not optional to the human experience. It's essential. What is one of the best ways to embrace beauty in your homeschool? Through picture study. Charlotte Mason said, "Every child should leave school with at least a couple of hundred pictures by great masters hanging permanently in the halls of his imagination. At any rate, he should go forth well furnished, because imagination has the property of magical expansion. The more it holds, the more it will hold." With the help of picture study, Your students will have ample time to be exposed to many artists over the course of their education. So let's talk about picture study and how it works. The first thing to know is the goal. Why do we do picture study? It is to become familiar with an artist and enjoy his or her work. Picture study is meant to provide an immersive experience by focusing on one artist at a time, including the reading of a short biography. The hope is for the child to develop a relationship with the art and become familiar enough that he can recognize, oh, that's a Picasso. When you are starting out, try to choose the most popular artists first, the names that most people at least recognize, even if they can't tell anything about their work. Michelangelo, Monet, Da Vinci, Rembrandt, Van Gogh are a few of those, as they are foundational and inspirational for so many others who came after them. I align picture study with history whenever possible. Right now, we are studying the 1800s, so it's a great time to immerse ourselves in Albert Bierstadt. I also align it with the seasons if possible. I love to study Norman Rockwell in the winter, kicking off with his holiday paintings and moving on to his other work over the season. What you choose to study will vary greatly by family. Pick something you like. Don't feel like you have to have the children reproduce the art in some way. Admiring it is enough. And remember, it's nice to know a little about the artist, especially where he or she is from, the time period the artist lived, and the names of some of their more famous or favorite pieces, but don't lose sight of the goal. So how much time do we spend on picture study? Well, we usually spend about 6 weeks on each artist, choosing one per term. We do picture study once a week. Picture study should take about 10 to 15 minutes each time. And it works really well during morning time, but can also be done while eating lunch. If you are going to do it with food around, I just highly recommend that you laminate your prints so they don't get messy. As for planning, before we start a new term, I will choose one artist to study. I like to be mindful of the kids' ages when I'm choosing an artist. I believe all young children should recognize Da Vinci's Mona Lisa, Michelangelo's David, at least from the waist up, and Van Gogh's Sunflowers. Small children love seeing other children highlighted in Mary Cassatt's paintings, especially the little girl in a blue armchair. Keep in mind that some artist books and prints may include nudes, so you'll want to preview those before handing them over. I started with my favorite artists because kids will enjoy what you're passionate about. Usually we study a new artist each term, but sometimes we will cover someone for a second time if a younger sibling was too young to remember the first time around. I find a short, well-written biography on the artist and a collection of his best work on YouTube, and I add it to our artist study playlist. I try to choose video with some nice music playing as the pictures scroll, and I play it in the background as a way of review. So day 1 of picture study through every other day, we basically do the same thing. I introduce the artist by reading a short biography a little bit each week until we complete it. I have them narrate back to me about the artist's life. We choose one painting by the artist to admire. After everybody has looked at the piece up close, I turn the picture around and I ask them to tell back a detail about it. It's good to go youngest to oldest to decrease the chance of hearing, I was going to say that. And if our reading mentions a particular piece, that is the picture that we'll choose. But if not, I just rotate, letting the kids pick a painting that they like from the pile. This picture that we choose goes up after we're done studying it into a high traffic area. It usually is on our fridge. And I keep it there for a week to extend exposure. And for exams, they usually describe their favorite picture, tell the name of it if they can, and then tell a little bit about the artist. And I just celebrate what they remember. All right, so for the resources, there are some really, really great artist study resources. In fact, there might be too many. It's easy to get overwhelmed. It's easy to pick an artist and then find prints and find a biography and then find all these picture books about them. You don't want to overdo it and make them sick to death of the artist before you're done studying it. So try to pick ones that you know everybody will enjoy. All right, so your first resource is an artist study master list compiled by yours truly. I have organized it alphabetically, chronologically, and by nationality. And I've also included a suggested artist study schedule. So that is, you are able to access that by going to my Substack. And I will leave a link to my Substack in the show notes. But once you click on my Substack article, there will be tons of links that you can click on that I'm going to mention. And you'll be able to get your free master list. And you can also download the next freebie I included, which if you listen to the composer episode, there was a composer version of this. I also have a template that we use for our artist study. So I just print out this blank template and we write in the artist's name and we print a picture of him and write when he lived and where he was from and or she. And some of our favorite pieces by the artist, and then this template, once it's all filled out, goes into a binder, and I keep a binder that's kind of a master list of all the artists that we have studied over the course of the kids' education, and it helps us just keep up and remember who we've studied. Number one, that's very helpful because after over 10 years, it's kind of easy to forget, hey, did we actually study that person yet? So we're able to go back and look. And then also the kids are able to flip back through and it's a way to review. At one point I was printing out their, most notable works in kind of a smaller version. It was when the kids were little. And so they could cut out a picture of the Mona Lisa or a Van Gogh self-portrait and they could glue it on the back of this template. But as they've gotten older, we usually just keep the print separately. And this binder is just about the specific artist. All right. So besides that, there are two more places that you can go to get lists. I'm sure there's many more, but these are the spots that I have used in the past. Ambleside Online has an artist section in their drop-down menu, so you can see all of their recommended artists. And then A Humble Place also has a list of artists to choose from. If you are a paid subscriber to my Substack, then you will receive a monthly recommendation of suggested artists to study. If you're not a paid subscriber and you're interested in that, it is a part of my everything guide, and I send it out, like I said, monthly. And so if you subscribe now, you can look forward to getting April everything. And along with artists, it also has suggested songs to listen to and folk songs, different poems to read. You can do a poetry and tea, different books to read, and lots of other things are included in that. So definitely check that out. Okay, for my moms who have little ones, these are some of our favorite resources for the early years. I have a list of favorite books, the ones the kids really enjoyed, and they are board books or picture books that highlight different art. So we've got Baby Einstein's Windows to Color, You Are My Work of Art, A is for Art, The Art Treasure Hunt, Museum ABC, and A Child's Book of Art. Great Pictures, First Words. So again, all the links to that are in my Substack. For doing actual artist or picture study as a part of your homeschool, I recommend A Humble Place picture study. You can get, and actually it's very similar to Simply Charlotte Mason's picture study portfolios. Those are both fantastic resources, and they have, it's a packet that you get, and it has, I think, 6 or 8 prints that are very well done. They're beautiful to look at and display. They're on heavy paper, and you also get a short biography on the artist. What I love most about this is, many artists live tumultuous lives, and so there are maybe some details that the kids don't need to necessarily know. So in general, these are really great to read to kids. The details are focused on their art and not necessarily their personal struggles. You also have really well-written biographies, and they're on the shorter side. So because they are written by people who are also advocating the Charlotte Mason method, they are written in the way that I think Charlotte Mason would have really wanted her students to enjoy. So both of those companies have a wide selection of artists, and I have a lot of the prints. I have probably over 100 easily prints between the two companies. And it's great because you can display them while you're studying it, or you can even, I like to pull out a random picture and display it on a bookshelf that I have. It's just nice to have kind of art at the ready. You could even frame a favorite print. They're really nice. So I highly recommend both of those for your actual prints. You have the option to send them to a printer and print them yourself and just download them. Just buy it if you can. If you're able to afford to just buy the actual packet, number one, it ends up being about the same price than if you print them all yourself at a printer on nice paper. And number two, it's very important that you see some of the details and you're able to look at it closely. So it's really, really important that they're high quality. And so you're just not going to get that same experience if you're looking at it on your laptop. It's nice for the kids to be able to interact with it. And so I think these are a really good investment. Okay, another resource that we have used for picture study is the series Getting to Know the World's Greatest Artist. These are really fun books. I would not call them living books, but they are super fun. And the series is very extensive, and they can be used with really young kids. So they're real thin, short books. The company made probably 6 or so DVDs years ago that my kids fell in love with and watched constantly and could tell you all the parts. And I do not think they are available in any way except on DVD. So our library happens to have them, but they are not available on the website. So I guess you could just check eBay or try to find an older version of one. I hate that they stopped making them because they're really fun. They're done in a cartoon style, and they were short and witty and memorable. So hopefully those will be available again at some point. But if not, like I said, check your library. They might have some copies hanging around, or you might be able to find some on YouTube. All right, more on resources for picture study. There's a YouTube channel called Paintings in Motion, and there's another one called Artistico, Art for Your TV. YouTube channels, links for both of these are in my Substack. These are made for adults, so they may contain some nudes. You might just want to preview it first, but these are great to have rolling in the background, and then your TV just kind of becomes a beautiful work of art. Okay, for high school students, the 3 books that I really love are, one, The Story of Painting by H.W. Jansen is a really great book, and that is an Ambleside read. If you are someone who's doing Ambleside online with your family, you will eventually get to that book, and it was really great. The other 2 are both by Russ Ramsey. The one I've already mentioned, Rembrandt is in the Wind, I quoted from, and then the second book is Van Gogh Has a Broken Heart. And those are fabulous resources for high school students. In terms of just general reference, these are just great art books to have around the house that you can look things up. The first is called The Arts, a Visual Encyclopedia by D.K. The other is Lives of the Artists Masterpieces, Messes, and What the Neighbors Thought by Kathleen Krull. This is, I mentioned this in the composer episode. It's made by the same author, same type of book. She also does one for inventors and one for writers. She has a few in this series. But again, not super high quality living book, but fun and short and great pictures. So if you just want a quick kind of overview, we've enjoyed it. And the third one is A Treasury of the Great Children's Book Illustrators. That's by Susan Meyer. And this was really good for my son, who's a writer, and he's very interested in illustrating. So not so much, famous paintings, but this kind of looked at things from a different angle. So we really enjoyed that one. Art should be experienced. So if you can get to an art museum, I highly, highly, highly recommend that. A lot of cities have smaller art museums that are even free sometimes. And so they have rotating exhibits. So make sure and check out what is available to you in your area. Also, many museums have virtual tours. So including the Louvre, which has a special area just for kids. So I have links to that on my Substack. You can go and you can virtually tour some of these world famous art museums and see things that you may never get a chance to see in real life. So those are some of our favorite art resources. They will last you from the start of your homeschool to the end of your homeschool. So just having a few really good art resources on hand is much better than trying to collect a ton. So those are the ones we recommend. And like I said, go check out my Substack for all the links. And thank you so much for listening. That is all I have for today. And keep listening as we will continue on our homeschooling by subject series. Thank you so much for listening. If you are loving the podcast, please remember to rate, review. It really helps to get the word out to help encourage and equip other moms just like you. And until next time, keep living outside the box.